the race up until she was added, which in my opinion is a mistake because legislators, by definition, do not have experience in governing.
Mitt Romney was a
executive.
popular governor,
You're right.
but he's a man.
You're right.
And he, you know, that's the thing, is like, it is such a, it's not like the Republican Party had, you know, had women on the table.
I think
it's not like they were
Actually,
actually.
with Romney, you run the same risk as with Lieberman, and not to that extent. But with Romney, you run the risk of still isolating those social conservatives or those Republican conservatives.
Okay, but it's just
For a lot of the same reasons you mentioned in the top of the segment, which is that they don't think he's the least sleazy of guys.
No,
I
see why he wouldn't have wanted Romney.
So the guy from Indiana,
Right.
I guess, was on the ticket. I didn't know much about him, but
it just seems like the vetting process was non-existent for her. They literally.
That's
Trust
an
me,
assumption. That's
dude.
What is
time?
define vetting? Define vetting. Does vetting mean
how about
coming
you
in for
call-
second and third and fourth interviews and calling them regularly?
No, vetting is calling all of her contacts, all the people she's worked with, and getting the idea from them about what type of person she is, what type of leader she is, all of this stuff. They didn't do any of that, Joel.
How do you know this?
I read an article about it today. They didn't.
How do they know that? Do they keep track of the personal phone calls that the campaign makes to Alaska?
Since this has happened,
Give me a break.
you want to know? Since this has happened, the media has called a lot of the people that she works with and is involved with, and even the people that are her liaison to Ted Stevens and all of these other people.
Right.
McCain's never called them. His campaign never called those people.
The media did this.
The media called
They
them
took it upon
after the
themselves.
fact. Of course
to
they
call
did.
everybody.
That's what they do.
Which brings me to another point, another segue.
Well, that's what the media does for anybody. No? That's what they did? I mean,
Do they do the same thing for Biden?
dude, Biden's been around and vetted and everything for years.
Free pass, got it.
Excuse me? Absolutely not. In fact, Obama vetted Biden heavily. Incredibly strong, like all the way through from the beginning to end.
What did
he
he do?
spent his time. In fact, this is a funny part. This is a funny argument. And I read this in Time magazine today. Joe Klein had a great column about you have two candidates now running based on their first decision as a presidential candidate, their vice presidential running mate. McCain is the radical. Obama is the conservative.
Obama, you know what? I would almost agree with that. I would say Obama is taking the playbook, the play straight from George Bush 2000, by getting somebody who's experienced, who's a little bit of an older generation, and to give his own campaign more
A
credibility.
little bit of an attack dog.
Yep.
Has a lot of credibility, especially
George
with
Bush
McCain.
did that in 2000 when he picked Dick Cheney.
Yeah, well, he's a lot of an attack dog, but gotcha.
Well, did you ever? I mean, whatever.
Dick Cheney
Anyway.
wasn't even in government much until he was picked.
He was in government a lot earlier, like
long time earlier.
first Gulf War and prior to that.
Then he was this oil CEO after that, so we
He
know
went back into
we know
public
he
life.
was. But anyway,
Or private life.
anyway, Biden was very deliberately and thoroughly vetted, and it just appears that McCain sort of let this process run its course until the very end. He didn't want to pick Lieberman. He didn't want to pick Romney. He didn't want to pick who the Republican establishment told him he should pick. Okay? Because dude, this is, I mean, everyone knows what
Who did the Republicans tell him to pick?
Romney. They told him to pick, some of them told him to pick Lieberman. I mean, they're all different, of course. But they told him to pick Lieberman. These were the people who...
To say he went against the advice is ridiculous.
Joel, these are the elders of the party. Everyone has them. They're the people who tell you who you should go with. Like, the Republicans have the same. The Democrats have the same thing.
Okay.
Obama went with the best advice that he got. And that's the thing. He had a very deliberate choice, and he went with the advice, and he strengthened his ticket. Whereas McCain, on a couple fronts, On the religious front and the women front, he strengthened his ticket, but nothing else. And it was a maverick pick. It was a radical, gutsy.
It was a bold pick.
Bold pick, and I would argue that is not the type of president that I want. That I don't want a president who's just going to wait to the last minute and then just pick somebody that he just talked to for once on the phone.
Oh my God!
Seriously?
Goodness.
Is that what you want when the guy picks up the phone at 3 a.m. to just make a rash sort of decision about this whatever it is? If we're talking about like this whole idea of 3 a.m. phone call?
You know, I think dealing with this, because I think it is a speculative discussion, which by definition means that neither one of us has all the facts. The media is providing us with their own research, which I would argue is in itself a little suspect. And I do see he did wait, which was a political move. He did wait.
Well, of course he's going to wait to announce it.
Yes.
But he waited to choose that person.
Which I think is okay too, because when you deal with, and I kind of talked about this earlier too, the second convention is at a distinct advantage from the first convention because they can respond to the first convention.
Sure.
And so I think before he made a choice, he wanted to see how the Democrats played their convention, which I understand. I think it's a smart move.
So why do you think that affected his choice, the way they played the convention?
I don't know how it affected his decision.
Right.
I think he probably saw what a reception Hillary got. He probably saw, listened to a lot of the rhetoric like a lot of us Republicans listen to, and decided that he needed a social conservative to counterbalance that message. And from his short list, of which Palin was already on,
she wasn't. Not from what I heard, dude. She was not on any list until the very end. From what I heard, and of course it's speculative, but what can we go on here?
Yeah.
We're just two dudes sitting on a couch, okay? We're at the mercy of everyone else.
But here's my point, is that when you base a judgment on a person on speculation and not having all the information,
well, you're never going to have all the information.
I agree. You're entitled to think that was a, and obviously every Democrat's entitled to think that was a rash, decision based on one phone call or whatever it is. But
no, let's talk about the one phone call. That has been in multiple sources.
I know, I've seen that.
Every single place.
I've
never heard anyone.
I don't take exception to the one phone call because I've seen the same reports.
Well, that's a fact.
Okay.
Let's say.
Okay, it's fine. It's a fact that McCain called Palin once before he brought her down.
And you think that's enough?
Well, who knows what happened before that? Who knows how much of her record they researched, how much of her personal life they researched, from all the media that existed up to that point, from newspapers that covered her.
Besides all that. No, I don't care how much there was. I mean, from what I've read, there's not very much. But even if there was a ton of it, the guy talked to the woman once. I don't care if the conversation was 3 hours long. It doesn't matter. You gotta check that person out more. This is somebody who could be president. Mm-hmm. This is not a political choice. This is not somebody you pull in because they give you props with the evangelicals or a woman to maybe pull away the Hillary voters. This is somebody who could be president. Mm-hmm. And the guy's 70 years old. So she actually could be president. So this is a lot more serious, in my opinion, than just whether he was or was not rash. This is somebody who could be president.